Amazing. Welcome back, everybody. We're here with Cincy, myself, Ayo, Biodun, and Charles. And today we're going to look at the Man U games coming up. So it's a lovely week, match week 13 and 14 coming up. I love the fact that we have games back to back Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Trust.
Thursday, like almost every day for the next 8 days we have games. So it's fantastic. We're gonna talk about the Man U games. Man U is going to be playing against Newcastle first on Saturday, and then they will face Chelsea midweek on Wednesday next. We have Cincy here with us to analyze things from a Man U fan's perspective. And Charles will also give us some insights for the Man U Chelsea game next week.
Maybe.
what I,
Also, Charles should be filling in for Newcastle. I mean, they just faced Newcastle,
Why
right?
would you?
He should be filling in for Newcastle, man.
That's what I was going to
I'm
say.
just saying.
I love the fact that Newcastle just happened to beat Chelsea, and then Man U is actually facing both teams, so we have a fresh perspective from both. Before we go ahead, please like, subscribe, share. We love you guys for tuning in. Thank you for staying with us. We have fun on this, and we hope you guys enjoy it as much as we do.
Yep.
Let's dive right into it. So I think last week when we talked about the Newcastle game, right? We said, hey, Newcastle is dealing with a lot of injuries. I think at the point we didn't know Isak was back available, so they were facing Isak and Wilson out. They have like 10, 11 players out injured. Pretty much their whole defense is depleted. And we said there was no way, they had any chance against Chelsea. And then they went and just blew Chelsea apart. And then same thing, we said it was going to be a tough 3 days for them because they were also facing a PSG team that has, Mbappe, Dembele, and Kolomwani up front. Like, how do you face that attack when your reliable defense is out? And we saw what happened there as well. PSG were lucky to snatch a point in that game. So going into that, Cincy, how are you feeling? We saw what Man U did this week. There's a lot of focus on Onana right now. Onana, we'll get into it, but we saw the game at the weekend, cleaned everything out, 3-0 professional performance, and then we had the calamity draw this week. How are you feeling coming into this one against Newcastle?
It's actually funny. I actually feel good about this game, and I'll tell you why I feel good about this particular game. So I watched. Funny enough, I've been so busy lately that I've not actually had time to catch some of these games. So I've been watching the highlights carefully, and I watched the Everton game, and I actually watched the replay on that game as well. And what I noticed was, even though we won 3-0, the performance on that game was still not up to par. Unfortunately, I felt like we were still showing a little bit of moment FC in that game. Don't get me wrong, Garnacho goal was fantastic. That was actually the highlight of the game. That was a wonderful goal. That boy has a lot of talent. And obviously, the rising of Maino as well, everybody's speaking about him, is also a good positive for the team. And we played Galatasaray this midweek in the Champions League, which was supposed to be the determining game to see if we're going to stay in the competition. And I'm not going to lie to you, what I saw in that game, the performance I saw in that game was way better than the Everton game. Other than the fact that we had the two blunders from Onana, unfortunately, I think the performance of that game was very positive. I like the way United moved in that game. We were very quick. The decision was good. They were fluid. Even when we were down, even when we were like, I think when they tied the game, United was still playing. I was like, okay, this is good. I like this. And I always tell my friends, I was like, for me, it's not always all about results, especially when it's a team that is trying to, it's on the come up. Results will come later, but performances for me are always going to be paramount and key. And the fact that Ten Hag is not addressing those bad games, kind of weak a little bit. But for me, what I saw against Galatasaray, I think if we go into that game with Newcastle this weekend and play the same way we attacked, I mean the defense can be a little bit better, can be better, but if we play the same way with the same mentality, with the same approach, I think we can give Newcastle a run for their money. And don't get me wrong, Newcastle is a team that is in form right now. So it's not going to be an easy game for us. And I believe we are playing away. So that's even what makes it more difficult. So I'm not taking anything for granted in this game. I'm giving Newcastle their flowers. It's going to be a very difficult game, but I believe if we go into this game with the same mentality that we had against Galatasaray during the Champions League game, I have no doubt in my mind that we are not going to come short in that game. You know, even if it's a draw, and even if we lose, again, I think we would give Newcastle at least some kind of challenge. You know, I think the team. I think I want to believe that we will eventually get it together. But I need to see more of that. Consistency is going to be very, very important now. I mean, we need to see more evidence of plays like that, fast plays like that. I saw the Fernando, so the Bruno Fernandez that we've missed. Was the one that scored the second goal, right?
Yeah. The long way shot. Fantastic finish.
That was what we know him for. The way he was passing the ball, everybody was moving. Even when Marshall came in, Marshall was playing. I loved what I saw, and I given them one Bissaka as a fullback. It was looking very good. So I think we should have a good weekend if we play the same way or what I witnessed on Wednesday.
Okay, so from your perspective, the team seems to be progressing in the right way, and for you, it's more about the performances. You don't know if it'll be enough to beat Newcastle at St. James's Park, but you're expecting a performance from the boys again.
And United has been performance that has been the main issue for us. Not being able to turn it up during the game, and also with consistency. We don't have identity. The identity is not there. We need to see it, man. I'm telling you, man. It's not. And I always tell my friends, all these wins, all these 1-0, 3-0 wins, they are fugazi wins. They are just moon dust. They don't mean anything to me until I see evidence. So yeah.
And Biodun, I'll get your perspective on Newcastle, right? Because both of us we spent some time looking into Newcastle, just analyzing how they were playing, what their squad looked like going into that Chelsea game. What are your thoughts? Seeing what they've now done those past two games that we thought might be tricky and difficult for Eddie Howe, how are you expecting them to face this Man U challenge?
Oh man. So first, we were both wrong. I think our last session when we talked about the Newcastle Chelsea game, we're wrong, and we're also happy actually. As an Arsenal fan, we're very excited for the results. And now to your question, I think Newcastle will be coming into this game with a lot of confidence, which is good for them, right? Because honestly, we should appreciate what they've done. They played two important games within 5 days.
4 days,
right? And Eddie Howe said something. He said his factor had been fear. He gets driven by fear, and I think it's going to apply the same factor coming against Man U. So this is a depleted team in terms of injury that faced Chelsea. Chelsea coming out of a 4-4 game with City, thinking that they should just stroll into St. James's Park and get a good game and get 3 points. But we saw a Newcastle play normal game. I mean, Ayo, we talked about maybe Eddie Howe should actually play his defensive game and just contain. But I think I was wrong, even suggesting that those guys were not afraid. They played his typical game. They came out, they played. They allowed Chelsea to play, and they played their game as well. But there is something that I cannot take away from this Newcastle game, which is their identity. It is that physicality. When every time they bring their physicality into the game and they work tirelessly, they try to get results. And I think if they should do that against Man U, I think physically, the guy that has been driving Man U to play physically has been Lisandro Martinez, and that guy has been out for a while. And I think that physicality is lacking. You will see that physicality when Lisandro Martinez plays, when Casemiro plays, even though he does it in a subtle way, but he makes some really, really dangerous play that sometimes you wonder how he doesn't get catch. So the missing key players, Casemiro, the missing Lisandro Martinez. Now Varane, I don't know what the issue is. Maybe Cincy can tell us when he gets to speak again. I think there's some issues that I'm hearing that's going on between Erik ten Hag and Varane. And I'm surprised to hear that. So maybe Cincy has some insight into that. So when you see the crops of player play, you could see that game, that Champions League game, you could see Bruno Fernandes shouting at Amrabat. And I think that's one area that you want to look into that midfield. Meno came into that midfield, did very well against McTominay. Amrabat has not really gelled into the Man U game. The player that they are looking for in Amrabat has not really delivered. So I don't know who Eric Ten Hag is going to play. But wherever he plays, the truth is you want to match the physicality of Newcastle if you want to get a result. Arsenal almost got a result out of that game, if not for that goal. And the reason why Arsenal was able to hold Newcastle down was that, surprisingly, Arsenal played physical. And that's the way to combat Newcastle. Forget who is playing. They don't have players. He's throwing anybody at least. Luis Smiley, we talked about it before the recording, is 17, and that boy is playing already, right? Alexander Isak is back. So in that defense that defense that always concede goal, Alexander Isak is going to get chances. That's the truth. So I see this game going towards the way of Newcastle, right? But if Man U wants to get a result out of this game, number one, they need to match the physicality of Newcastle. Jolinton is back, is going to demonstrate that, that. So expect that physicality from people like Bruno Guimaraes and Jolinton. And if they should do that, you are going to lose that midfield. I would think that Meno will be given a chance. It's going to be a big game for him, but I think he should be given a chance. I haven't seen Amrabat delivered so far.
Yeah, you talked about Amrabat, and I think something that's interesting for Amrabat is the Amrabat we saw at the World Cup with Morocco was responsible for that defensive midfield role. Yeah. And I think maybe Amrabat just hasn't quite come up to speed with the fact that he's sharing that responsibility with someone else. Also, he is just coming back from
injury.
So I think there's maybe a little bit of, him needing to come into that ownership where it's like, okay, I'm the guy responsible for protecting this back four and starting to step into that role. Charles, do you have any insights from a neutral point of view on this game?
Funny enough, Biodun and Cincy said they both made valuable points. Like, one, that game can go either way. But I think Biodun, the most valuable points I'm going to hold on with Biodun is it's going to be a physical game. It needs to be a physical game if results is demanded or desired. So whoever plays more physical probably will be the one to get chances and take those chances. Now,
and that's likely to be Newcastle.
That's likely to be Newcastle, but of course, Man U can step up. Biodun mentioned some people in Man U. Even people like McTominay can be physical if they want to be. So
McTominay is not clever. He gets carried. He's not clever. He gets carried when he plays that way.
McTominay is actually in form. In fact, I actually think the starting.
He's in form, but we're talking about how you get away with those physical tackles. How you get away? I don't know if he's going to get away
in that game.
But here's the thing, though. Forget about just some physicality of the game. There's also the aspect of taking chances. Who gets chances? Who takes those chances? Now, forget who is taking those chances. Who are they taking those chances again? I don't know if you guys know where I'm going. But funny, someone mentioned a statement today, which I was thinking about. Man U's defense, even with the bringing in Maguire, they actually haven't been bad as a defense, especially in the.
Onana he has the most clean sheet in the Premiership.
Exactly. The only flaw Man U has right now.
No, for Man U.
Yeah, the only flaw Man U has, which I don't want to call it a flaw, but the only issue right now is the goalkeeper, who is when he does so well, but when he doesn't, he does really bad. And me personally, this is going to be a big deal, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think Onana should be benched for the game. That's just my opinion.
Onana, who is going to come in? Honestly, who is going to come in for Onana? They don't even have the backup.
Biodun is a really good goalkeeper. He's young, but he's good
but that's the first thing because going into that game with that kind of pressure behind him is bad for United. It's a lot of distraction because now we are putting him on the spot. Now he needs some time off.
He's already on the spot. See,
that's what we are putting him even more on the spot with too much pressure.
Fine. Right? That's fine. The thing about it is this: Onana's mistakes, you can't even call them mistakes anymore. He's consistently making them. It's becoming a way of life.
Yeah, it's not part of him.
Something has to be done.
One thing I have to say though, if you guys think back to 2010, 2011 time when De Gea just came to this league, we saw a lot of these types of clangers from De Gea too, and I know there was a lot of talk about De Gea that it was. I specifically remember things like him, going up to catch crosses and missing the flight of the ball. There were a couple of times where he dropped the ball into the net. Going up, did he have the physicality to stand up to the Premiership? And he came good. And Ferguson didn't drop him. Ferguson played him through it. So I think there's something to be said about we're seeing that at Arsenal now. I think there's something to be said for
a little bit different for me.
Goalkeepers' confidence.
Me personally, I think when it comes to the Onana situation, I think it's more than just playing him through it, because we've seen him he does well in one game and does bad in 2 games. He does well today and then slaps. Now the thing about it is, Onana, I just think he needs a break. Now you may drop him not even as a punishment, but make him realize that he's not the only one. Make him realize that he's benchable, and also make him realize that maybe he does need a break. Maybe if he sits down with the stands and watches someone else do the job and realize that, I'm replaceable basically. Now, benching Onana is one thing. I personally think if Onana has a good game, I think Man U would have a good game. And maybe if then Bruno, Martial, Højlund finish up their chances up front, they may get the results. Now, Newcastle on the other hand, they have injuries. They are grinding through those injuries. And of course, the players are coming back grinding, like Isak is back. I think if I was a bet and I was putting my money down, I'll give it to Newcastle, just because Newcastle is building up on momentum, beating Chelsea. They're doing something good. Even the PSG game, Newcastle won that game. But that's a debate for another game.
Hey, come on, man.
Hey, I said what I said. Newcastle won that game. Whatever penalty was given to PSG.
What was the final result?
Whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So my point is this. I think the 2 teams have something good going for them. If they both play physical, we'll have a very good game. But I also think Onana, it's a risk. It's a high risk playing Onana for 90 minutes. Now, start him or don't start him. I don't know what it's going to be. But I personally, if I was in Ten Hag's shoes, I would just start Onana. Not to punish him, but to show him that you may need a break. You are replaceable. Yeah. Because the mistakes are becoming, mistakes are something that happens once in a while. It happens once in 10 months, once in a year. That's what you call a mistake. What's happening with Onana right now is not a mistake. It's a regularity, and it needs to be fixed. The only way to fix that is only to watch from the stands. And I think if Man U does that, Man U may be able to get a result. That's my take.
Okay, so I'll take it this way. For Charles, you think it could go either way, but you think the key for Man U is to maybe give Onana a break in this game.
Yep.
Cincy is looking for a good performance. Biodun is leaning towards Newcastle. I'm going to hold you.
That was my kind of prediction. That is not what I want. What I want is a draw. What I want is a draw.
I'm going to give it to you now. What you want and what you expect are 2 different things. Cincy, Bega, let's hear from you. What is your prediction for this game? I'm going to hold you now to give me something.
I think there's going to be a surprise win from United.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
victory.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to be afraid of Cincy because the last time we had Cincy on the show, that was the Man City Man U game. He predicted that Man U was going to lose by 3-0. They did lose. They lost the game. Yeah. If he's saying a win for Man United, I'm okay with a win for United. I just don't want a Newcastle win. I'm going to be honest, right?
Are you going to bless us?
This is because from tracking the table and trying to maneuver and shift the table to my own preference. I don't want a Newcastle win. I'm just going to say it out. I don't want a Newcastle win. Yeah. A win for Man U or a draw, I'm okay with that. Now, would that be a surprise? It's very, very possible. Like I said, if you match, Arsenal almost went away with a point. We didn't create any chance, so we didn't deserve to be win. But we almost went away with a point. And the point I'm trying to make is that we match the physicality of Newcastle. If Man U could match the physicality of Newcastle, you will frustrate them, you will shut them down. They can't create any chances because they get high. It's like someone on drug. When they get a chance to play physicality, they just get high. My scoreline is going to be a 1-1.
That's what you expect, or that's what you want?
But
okay, Cincy, will you bless us with the scoreline?
Oh, for United game?
Yeah, United Newcastle.
I'm gonna go with 3-2.
3-2. Okay, Charles. You want to be the tiebreaker?
I know Onana is going to start, except Tenag is listening to us. Onana starts 3-1 Newcastle. If he doesn't,
okay. Wow.
Draw. So I'm sticking with 3-1.
So we're split. 1 win, 1 draw. Okay.
3-1 Newcastle.
Okay.
Onana is going to start, so that's by the way.
All right. So let's look at the Chelsea game now, right? Newcastle beat Chelsea 4-1, and Man U is coming into this game. So we've talked about the Newcastle game. How does Man U face up against Chelsea? Charles, first give us your thoughts, of what went wrong in that Newcastle game and how you think that might be rectified, going in against Man U.
Okay, so I'm going to try and sound not too harsh, but maybe I should sound harsh. Chelsea's game was immaturity. Immaturity was the root of the problem. And I've been saying something since, I think, last season, since this new rules of if you kick the ball away, you get a card. If you talk back to the referee, you get a card. As a coach, if I am a coach and my player kicks the ball away and gets a yellow card, that player is sitting out the next 3 games. Because as far as I'm concerned, that rule has been for over a season. If you're still kicking the ball away at this point, you are just blatantly stupid. Because
why are you talking about, Charles?
Huh?
Rhys James.
I'm getting it, Rhys James.
Rhys James got a red card in that game.
So I know he got a red card, but he didn't kick the ball. He fouled.
He got
a yellow. He got 2 yellows. 1 yellow was for kicking the ball away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, it wasn't only Rhys James. There was someone else who I can't remember and I got a yellow card for kicking the ball away. But now let's go back to ill discipline, the immaturity that's affecting Chelsea team. Jackson, for instance, got 5 yellow cards at the beginning of the season because a lot of those yellow cards because he was talking back at the referee, right? Those little things are the issues that Chelsea have, and I call it immaturity because, and I'm going back to, I'm targeting the coach because as far as I'm concerned, when players are making consistent mistakes or doing consistent bad behavior,
it's the leadership.
It's the leadership, yeah. It's the coach that needs to sit those players and be like the same man I just made. Anyone gets a yellow card for kicking the ball away, you're sitting out the next 3 games. Anyone gets a yellow card for talking back at the referee, you're sitting out the next 4 games. When you put that rule in play and you effect it when someone does it, everybody else will sit up. The captain of the team misbehaved, got a yellow card for even after when they fouled him and he was misbehaving, kicking the ball out. Those little things, basically in summary, Chelsea lost their head. Because when it was 1-1, that game could have gone either way. Then mistakes started happening. Go see what was supposed to be the oldest player on the team, made his own mistake, caused the goal, and then basically it was just downhill from there. And then Rhys James got his second yellow got a red card. Summary is what happened in that game was just immaturity. Those guys are just overpaid babies who were misbehaving. They were lashing out and getting yellow cards, and just because things were not going their way. So I'm not giving excuses. Newcastle killed their chances. When they had those chances, they killed their chances. So I'll give credit.
They were clinical.
If Chelsea was more disciplined than they were in that game could have ended a draw. Even Chelsea could have taken 3 points. Now,
do you have some insight into why Disasi didn't start that game? Because I thought that defense seemed to be finding some stability with Disasi, Cucurella, Rhys James, and Thiago Silva.
So I don't have the inside gist of why Disasi didn't start, but I felt bad Caicedo didn't start.
I think that was due to the international duty. So
back late, whatever it was. But for Disasi, I don't know, maybe it was rotation. And Disasi actually, the defense is finding his form, but Disasi has had his own, ups and downs too. But he's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing him. I'm just saying that I don't think that's even the reason Newcastle won. You can shuffle that defense. Even Badescu coming back, like that was his first game back for a while.
So you think it's just a lack of discipline that this Chelsea team is facing right now?
Literally from the moment from the beginning of the game to when it was 1-1, that game could have gone either way.
Okay.
You couldn't have predicted a 4-1 game. When it was 1-1, no one could have predicted 4-1. But the moment people started getting stupid yellow cards here and there, people started making negative tackles. Thiago Silva's goal was a mistake, but it all comes from the fact of miscommunication, lack of discipline, lack of maturity in the team. And the fact that the captain, if the captain of the team is still kicking the ball away, when this rule has been in place for going on 2 years, the captain of the team is still lashing out because he was tackled in a physical game, in a contact sport, I'm sorry. If you're tackled badly, you don't lash out. You play. You move on. But you couldn't move on from that tackle. And that led to eventual crumbling of the whole team. His red card was, I don't want to talk about it.
So, I'll come back and get some more thoughts from you. But Cincy, all of that said, Chelsea, we've seen them up and down this season. They seem to turn up for the big games.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they didn't turn up against Newcastle. But when they played Liverpool, when they played Arsenal, when they played City, they've turned up. How are you expecting? What are you expecting when Man U plays this team?
I think that's going to be another very tricky game. I think Chelsea.
Man U is at home for this one.
Yeah, it's still going to be very tricky, and Chelsea is actually a very good team. I think the coach is doing a phenomenal job. I think I like the fact that he has put together a very, very formidable attack in Gallagher, Palmer, and Sterling. And, the only thing is just Jackson, up front. I think that's where they have a little bit of an issue there. But like I said, for United in that game, it's going to. I can't make any comments now. I need to see the Newcastle game. To be honest with you, the Newcastle game is actually going to let me know how that game is going to turn out. With United, like I said, it's moments, so we need to see what this weekend brings. But I think if we perform well against Newcastle and go into that game with a very good form and good performance, I have no doubt in my mind that we can snatch a result against Chelsea.
I agree.
So, Charles, it sounds like you're not confident or you're not sure which Chelsea is going to turn up due to a lack of discipline. But what if so? If you're seeing a problem with leadership and discipline, what is then causing the inconsistency? Why are they turning up for some games, but seemingly absent from others? Right? They're losing games to teams like Bournemouth.
Mm-hmm.
They're losing heavily and making silly mistakes against Newcastle.
Can I?
But they're turning up and putting City to the sword.
I'll say this: Chelsea is where they're still getting to know each other. The whole team, relatively new. That's an excuse, but it's the excuse I have. They are still getting to know each other. So whatever is happening, they turn up in today and don't turn up tomorrow. It's part of the getting to know process. Now, the indiscipline part was well shown in the Newcastle game. You understand? That hasn't really been the case. It hasn't really been the case across the whole team in all games. It's been the case in some players, like I mentioned Jackson earlier, But I don't doubt we can beat Man U. Now, I'm saying, you said I'm not confident. I'm not confident because I don't know what else to expect, like you said. But I don't doubt, if we beat Man U 5-0, I won't be surprised. If we lose, I won't be surprised. If we tie, I won't be surprised. Because Chelsea has shown that they can actually beat the big teams. They can actually contend. They can actually challenge the big teams. And Man U is a big team. So I expect them to show up. Now, will they show up and keep their heads together or fall off like against Newcastle? So that's where my dilemma is.
Biodun, I think you're dying to say something. I'll give you 1 minute real quick. I'm
just surprised that Charles is really angry tonight. And to be honest, no disrespect, Charles, and no disrespect to you. I love you, brother. But I think everything you've been saying, they sound like noise to my ears. It's just full of excuses, man. It's full of excuses. You're talking about a captain. This is the same guy that delivered against Man City. This is the guy that you guys rated as one of the best, right? When they gave this guy the captaincy, I remember there were conversations around, they should have given Thiago Silva. Somebody said, no, the guy deserves it. He grew up in Chelsea. He knows the ways and everything. That was just one bad game. So calm down, bro. Right? Yeah. Don't attack these kids. That is somebody that Real Madrid will pay for right away if you don't want him. You understand what I'm telling you? See, the only problem that guy has is injury. Yeah, and that was a very bad game, right? You need to understand something. We started by discussing the Man United Newcastle game. And I told you that if you want to really deal with Newcastle, You have to match Newcastle with physicality. Newcastle basically set a trap. That is how they play. They will come and frustrate everybody. They will talk back at you. They will pull your shirt. They will do everything. That is how they play. If you cannot do the eat in the kitchen, then get out of the kitchen. You guys are a professional club that went to St. James's Park. If you cannot deal with Newcastle, what are you doing in Premier League? Go to the League One. They need you there. You play with Leicester City and Ipswich Town. You understand? So stop coming here and complaining about somebody put you and you got angry. That is Newcastle. That is Newcastle. That is what they did to everybody.
Their style of play.
That is their style of play. They get you angry. They frustrate you. They will do stuff that you will say this is a red card and they will not get any red card. They are so annoying. That's the same thing that teams like Brentford will do to you. They are physical. So if you cannot match them, then that's your problem. Now, maybe you lost the game because your coach was in the stands and his presence couldn't change everything. That could be a reason. But this is the same set of players that played against what's it called? Against City, and they were disciplined. You talk about Jackson. Welcome to EPL. Welcome to EPL. So all these things that you are talking about, who sent you to go and buy 15,000 players? Right? Nobody sent you to go and buy 50,000 players. If you have a squad, you know how to manage a big squad. Put out a team that can play a game. That's what we're asking you for. Man United, Chelsea game. I want Man Utd to win that game. Right?
Let me know where you're
The difference.
Hold on. Let me just remind Biodun real quick. So I don't forget what
because you're talking about you have good games against top four. You already played the top four. Let me remind you what the top four are. Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Tottenham. You've played the top four. The other teams are not top four, so you will lose them.
Charles, I'll get one final thought from Charles before I take predictions.
So Biodun,
go ahead, Charles.
You basically backing my point. I didn't criticize Rhys James saying he's not a professional or saying he's not good enough. He's one of our best players. You made a statement. Newcastle, that's how they play. If you don't know how to play, let me finish. If you don't know how to play against them, get out of the kitchen. That's exactly what I'm saying. Chelsea fell for the traps. And falling for the traps was their immaturity. If Newcastle plays a physical game against you and you respond as a professional and play your game without lashing out, then you've done good. My point is, we didn't do good, which is what you are saying. We fell for the traps. That's the point I was trying to make. We fell for the traps. Yeah. And why did we fall for the trap? Because we got emotional. We got in our heads and we were lashing out, getting yellow cards that we didn't need to get. Eventually, one person got a red card. We fell for the traps is the point I was trying to make, which is what you were saying. So I'm not trying to talk down with James, and I'm not trying to talk down Newcastle because Newcastle played their game really well. We just didn't get to play our game because we were too emotional responding to Newcastle's game. That's all.
All right, Cincy, predictions.
Okay, for the Chelsea and Man Utd game.
Yeah,
like I said, the performance is going to be key for me against Newcastle. It's very hard.
It's so funny how both of your teams, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen next week. I don't know which team is going to turn up.
It's very hard, but right now.
But we've seen these guys. We've seen them 13 games. This is week what? Week 13?
It's going to be week 15.
This is week 14.
It doesn't work like that with Man U. You know, it doesn't work like that with United, unfortunately.
But so far, Man U actually has the best record. In the last 6 games, they've won 5.
But think about it, though.
They're the form team.
All the Newcastle and everything. We are just 6 points behind.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then you just imagine.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
And that was the point I wanted to make.
Just imagine.
The difference between United and Chelsea is that Chelsea actually has the performance, but they don't have the results. We don't have the performance, but we have the results. That's the difference between.
And that was why I was going to counter you, Cincy, when you said you pick performance over results. I just laughed and I was going to say something, but
no. Let me tell you something, Charles.
I understand.
Charles, let me tell you something.
I will pick results.
Now you might not see.
Anything.
Charles, let me tell you something. Yeah. Now you might not see the outcome.
No,
I've seen things like this, how they end up. Trust me, it is going to be good for Chelsea eventually. Amen. What that guy is doing up front with those 3 attacking players, with Babagba, Sterling over there, controlling those 2 young boys, you guys need to get rid of Jackson. Jackson is the one that get rid of that guy. That guy could only score action.
Keep quiet.
Keep quiet.
Keep quiet.
All right, predictions.
For United, I'll say
bold enough
against Chelsea.
2-1. Charles.
2-1. Chelsea wins. Hopefully, we wake up from the Brighton game and then carry on momentum.
Biodun, are you gonna go draw now since we're
Biodun, stop telling us what you want and what you don't want. Just predict.
But let me say this, Biodun, before you talk. If we don't show up against Newcastle, then we're most likely not going to get improved results.
It's a
clause there now. Let me put that clause there.
It's an home game. It's an home game for Man United. It's going to be in Old Trafford. It will actually even be better if they lost to Newcastle, so that they will come back and say, no, we're not going to lose back to back. I'm not going to lose in the Trafford. So I see a win for United, 2-1.
Okay, so 2 wins this time. I'm going to be the one calling a draw this time, and it's just based on the fact that when Chelsea have actually shown up against the big boys,
they draw.
That's true. That's
all right.
A good point.
Oh god.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to those 2 games. If you haven't, please like, subscribe, and catch us. We're going to be talking about the City Spurs games and the City Villa games in our recording for this week.